Welcome back to another Vmaxscart video. This one's a bit of information really. This is about small bore 998, 997 head castings. Also fitted some 1100cc engines or 1098. This is probably the most common one you'll see nowadays. The CAM 4810, which is an A+ casting in its most basic form. This is the one that you'll probably see that is most likely to have unleaded seats already fitted to the exhausts. These are the smaller ones. It's easy to get improvements on this, but you can take out quite a lot of metal. The actual chamber shape is what they call a closed beak. This beak is in the way a bit. If you put a larger valve, you then shroud the valve around this section. It also has quite big restrictions in the ports, especially the exhaust ports, namely the valve guide boss, which is this raised area here. Next up is the 12G202/206. These two head castings are very similar. These were fitted to 997 Coopers mainly. You can see that they have a larger inlet valve. The chamber's a bit more open around this side, but you've still got this beak here. The ports are bigger. If we look into the exhaust port, we can see that the valve guide boss is smoothed over, a little bit less restrictive. The ports are actually quite a lot bigger than a normal 998 head. You can see the inlet is actually square in section, a bit like a 1275 head. This one's had some funny inlet locating recesses machined into it. They're not normally as prominent as this. Sometimes on early heads or really early heads, this area here is scalloped out, which I'll show you on a later head or later in this video. And lastly, we're on to the 12G295 head. I haven't pointed it out on previous videos, but the casting number is normally in the middle area here. So we can see this is a 12G295. There's some other numbers here. They probably relate to maybe what year or what foundry was used. There's some other marks, which is seen on quite a lot of head castings. I think this is again as a foundry mark with a W in the middle of a diamond shape pattern. Not much to see on the top, pretty much the same as most 998 heads. The orientation stays the same, not like a 1275 head. These are quite a bit lighter. These are about 10 kilos over a 1275 head. This one's got bronze guides in. This is a modified head. Not the camera. So this is a much more open chamber head compared to most small bore engines. You can see that the beak, although this is a modified head, this has basically remained the same sort of shape. So it's a much more open chamber head, similar to a 1275 head, but with the valve spacing that fits in a 998 bore diameter. So you can see there's quite a big gap between the two exhaust valves. So this one's actually modified for a 29mm exhaust and a 33mm inlet. Normally this would run I think it's a 25, so the standard exhaust, and a 29 or a 30mm inlet. The problem with the standard valves is that they are very close to the edge of the port. The ports on these are very big normally, so that would be a standard exhaust valve, and that's a standard inlet. You can see they've got quite wide grooves, different type of collet setup to later valves. And then these have been replaced for this particular head with this race type inlet valve with a wasted stem and a radius back, and a 29mm race type exhaust valve. So we can see here the seats are much thinner, they're 3-angle and blended into the chamber and into the port. The actual valve guide boss has been dropped here. It's still quite a bit lower than it was originally, but not as low as you can get a 1275 head casting shape to be. This has actually got a waterway that runs underneath it, so you need to be careful when you're modifying it. This one's got bronze valve guides in as well. These heads do rust. You can see there's rust pitting around here just because they're so old. This would have been fitted to, you know, a 1964, 1963 car, so these castings are very old. This one has actually been converted for unleaded, so it's got unleaded seats in here. You can see it's a slightly pinker colour, using OE rover type inserts. And then also we can see on this face, the manifold face, it has these sculptured areas which a lot of early head castings have. Ports, not as big as you'd make a 1275, but pretty big. This has got a normal retaining groove for a twin carburettor setup and a very square inlet port as opposed to a round port on an earlier 998 head. This one's actually going on a supercharged engine. The 295 head is ideal because it uses a much bigger, much more open chamber. So in standard form, these are 28cc as opposed to the standard chamber 998 head, which would be sort of 23 to 24. After modification, these are 30 to 33. That's a volume you can get quite easily, and if you want to go bigger than that, there's still enough meat to do that. So on a 998, obviously that makes the route to a low compression engine suitable for supercharging a much easier way than trying to source some deep dish pistons.